So they finally made a movie about linguists, and I was very excited to go. So here are my thoughts. Arrival, directed by Denis Villeneuve, starring Amy Adams, Forrest Whitaker, and Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye. All right, so the Arrival tells a story of linguist Louise. I don't think her last name matters. Let's call her Louise. Amy Adams. So 2 minutes into the movie, aliens show up on Earth. They have these large crescent ships that they call shells. Amy Adams has some kind of backstory with the military, so they call her up. She is enlisted to translate for the actual aliens, and that's basically the entire story. She's just working on communications with them. The aliens themselves look like this. If you've ever played Mass Effect, then they kind of look like the Reaper ships that are basically just palms, and they would land and they would shoot beams out of them. Reaper ships crossed with the Elcor because they had a very like elephant look to them. But it was a very neat and subdued sci-fi movie. It really took its time to lay out everything for you. It didn't care whether or not you were falling asleep, which literally someone in the audience did. I thought it was a great movie at the end. For the first half of it, I wasn't sure what the hell was going on. It was really slow. They kept doing a lot of flashbacks to Luis's daughter, how she died at probably like 18. But then the movie explained to me what those were, and I realized that, hey, this is actually a good movie that I need to rewatch with fresh eyes. Sometimes movies make you do that. Amy Adams was really, really good in this. I don't think it's the best I've ever seen her do, but it's definitely better than anything I've seen recently. Because honestly, I really liked Big Eyes. She was fantastic in that, but I can't think any farther back than that. That was last year, right? And then her Batman versus Superman thing, which I don't really think she ever needed to do. I kind of feel terrible that they even put her through that. Forrest Whitaker, he was really good in a surprising way because I think the role was actually written for Denzel Washington. He seemed to be doing not to sound racist or anything, but he sounded like he was trying to do Denzel's New Yorker accent. Again, from movies that I can't remember. Jeremy Renner was, I does he ever do anything other than Hawkeye? Just the kind of quippy, quick-witted dude? I can't really remember the Hurt Locker, but I'm pretty sure he was just like that, and that was the first time I ever seen him. So Jeremy Renner was, Clint Barton. Nothing too spectacular there. And then there weren't really any other roles. Michael Stuhlbarg was in this one. I forgot to mention him last week on my Doctor Strange review. I like Michael Stuhlbarg. I remember him in Men in Black 3, and then just seeing him in Doctor Strange, and then The Arrival, like back to back, playing two completely different characters. He's a bit of a chameleon, that Michael Stuhlbarg. Sometimes he's a serious man. Sometimes he's a CIA guy. But the real star of this movie, I think, is the message that communication is the most important thing ever. There was a quote from Louise's book. It said something about language was the first tool, the backbone of civilization, and that's absolutely true. Jeremy Renner tries to counter with science is the backbone of civilization, but you can't communicate science very well without language. You won't get very far. And their portrayal of the linguist was really cool. Like they had her working out the orthography for the heptapods in a very scientific way. It wasn't how, like, I don't know if you even have an image of a linguist in your head. but that's basically what they do, is they just listen to recordings, look at wave files, and try to chop out the words, rearrange them. But they didn't have the sound to work with. They had just these circles. Their writing system is like a squid ink circle. Not unlike Full Metal Alchemist, the Ouroboros mark, how it was like a circle. If you just ignore, everything in the middle and just look around it, because that's what it kind of reminded me of a lot, is a snake or a dragon eating its own tail. This movie is not going to do too well in China, I don't think, because China, Russia, Sudan, Sierra Leone, they were kind of viewed as the villains because they weren't taking such a peaceful approach to this. They wanted to show the aliens that humanity means business and can defend themselves, even though these people are coming to us in a floating rock. And at the end, the rock just dissolved into what I assume is highly concentrated carbon dioxide. The other interesting aspect of the movie is its portrayal of time, how the flashbacks were actually flash forwards, and it wasn't until the end of the movie that you realize that she's just as confused by these as we are. I was actually getting angry with them because I didn't care until I found out that they hadn't happened yet. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, well, now I want to rewatch this and see what I'm missing. Because there is a bit of foreshadowing in between them. Foreshadowing? Post-shadowing, I think. Post would imply that the prefix was pre. Eh, I'll leave it to actual linguists to figure out a word for what I mean. Basically, it was a really neat movie that I wasn't entirely on board with until the twist happened and everything. So it's definitely one of those movies where you want to watch it a second time. Some movies you don't want to watch ever. Some movies you want to watch just once and then you're good for your entire life. Some movies definitely need a second watch through, and then maybe subsequent watch throughs as the years progress. As I get better at making these videos, I would like to be able to break them down and actually analyze them in a more academic sense, even though I know I'm not qualified to do that. So, yes, very good movie, very slow movie, very well thought out movie, and also a very pretty movie. Like I've probably said this for every movie that I've seen this year, but it was beautiful. It looked like Morgan with like the real suppressed color palettes, and like especially inside the shell, you had a real contrast between the darkness and the light. And the heptapods were always in the light, and the humans were more or less in the darkness, with Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner moving in and out, indicating that the heptapods were a truly benevolent force, and the humans are not quite there. So I thought that was nice. Good job to Denis Villeneuve and the screenwriters on that, as well as everyone who acted the shit out of that movie, because good job. You made me proud to be a linguistics enthusiast. So I'm going to let you guys go. I have nothing else to say. I really don't have anything to say to begin with, but I just make these videos. Goodbye.